Hello, hello. Welcome to the third floor. Craig here, and howdy, friends. So we've got the whole cast. We have been talking all week on the chat about how excited we are about this game, about how much fun we had on session one. If you haven't had a chance to catch session one, I've got it broken down into 3 different segments to watch on YouTube. You can also catch the replay here on Twitch. The full one on YouTube was cut short, so I recommend watching the replay ones that I posted there. And welcome to all the viewers that we have here already. So, we had quite a first session. The Umbral crew, they found out through an old associate of Reagan that there were some blackmail materials hidden away in a townhouse across the other side of Duskville. They did a little bit more digging, discovered that it was the home of Oris, who is second in command for the Hive. They bluffed their way in, created an unbelievable amount of chaos in the kitchen. Galen went down to the basement and discovered all kinds of otherworldly things. They eventually broke into the safe. They got the goods. With help of Reagan and the Ghost Veil, they were able to get in and get out. At the very last minute when we left them, they were on the gondola, escaping and headed back. And then the camera faded to black. So now, let's begin session 2. The camera fades black in from black. The camera pans slowly across the basement layer of the Umbral Means. Packed bookcases line the walls, and the ceiling is uncomfortably low. Stacked books, dust, and paper scatter the floor. A table covered in maps sits in the center, and a musty couch dominates this cramped room. On the far wall is an expensive wood roll-top desk, and next to it, crammed between the bookcases, is a small kitchen seeping the smell of old coffee. There's a crash as a cellar door flies open, a flight up from this room, and it swings open, releasing the outside rain down to the stairs into their lair. And a tall woman rushes down the steps. Behind her, 2 men work their way down, carrying an Eruvian man, unconscious with a twisted smile on his face. Elias and Galen are carrying Talos down the steps as Reagan clears space for them on the couch. They gently lay Cornelius down on the smelly couch. Reagan retreats to her desk. Galen begins to review the maps on the table. And Elias, the hunter, heads over to a cabinet and begins to empty his pockets. They're all wet, exhausted, and quiet as they try to shake the chaos they left in Silkshore. You see, after docking the gondola on their way back, they walked across Duskville to Coleridge in silence, not talking. Each of them now are focused on their own cool-down rituals. And then suddenly Galen finally looks up from his maps. He breaks the silence and the tension that stretches between them since they left the scene of the crime.
He kind of smirks just a hair and says, as he pulls the final extra details that he pulled out of the safe as his attempt of the way out from inside of his coat, and says, I wouldn't want to make a regular appointment out of it, but nice to know we can sneak some extra honey from the Hive. Just wish we could advertise it, but reputation's only good if you can live with it, right?
So, Elias, you're emptying your pockets, and you notice something. What do you notice?
Yeah, I'm emptying my pockets, and in my right jacket pocket, on the inside, I have where I normally store my knife that was monogrammed, and it's missing. It's not in my pocket. Immediately pause, think about all the events that happened earlier. I kind of turn towards the group. Guys, we have a serious problem. I'm missing my knife, and it's got our name on it.
Everything that Galen just said just melts off of his face. And you get just a Out in public, he would be just stone-faced. Amongst you folk, he's struck dumb for a second and then goes, "Why do we even have a monogrammed knife with our name on it?"
Hopefully that information you found extra more than makes up for it.
I expect I'll be finding out later this evening. You still have what we were actually there for, right?
Pull out the file.
Excellent.
I have to say it is very convenient that it was labeled so easily, but and she'll walk over and kind of slide it across the table.
Well, we can hope that it's mostly because they weren't expecting anyone to get down there if they're not supposed to be. And he'll start undoing the twine and start more actively looking through it. At first, just a quick look through, make sure it's not just empty paper, but he will, while he's still kind of coming down and letting the evening, the score kind of get some space behind them, he will start looking through to take notes mentally of what is in there, just so he has it for future reference.
Yeah, and it was as promised. So it is information that potentially could be very bad for Lissa. And it's related to the death of Rorik, who was the previous boss of the Crows. No need to get into specifics what it is, but it's damning evidence that obviously that the Hive was planning on using to blackmail her. So now we're entering into what's called downtime. So session 1 was our score phase, and we'll hopefully be headed there soon, because though the guys do have some coin, and we'll talk about that in a second, they're going to need a lot more. And now we go into downtime. And downtime is what happens in between scores, because Blades in the Dark is designed for action. But it's actually pretty neat how John Harper built this downtime segment. So we kind of go step by step through it. So the first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about kind of your impact, the score's impact on the world. So up here on the screen, you can see that you still remain at -2 with the Dimmer Sisters. And the reason you guys have a -2 reputation with the Dimmer Sisters is because you've been hunting in Night Market, and you have not been paying the Dimmer Sisters, who expect tribute for anybody hunting in the Night Market. Your score had no impact on that whatsoever. Next, your reputation with the Billhooks is -1. What it was before, and that's hurt because Coleridge is their territory. And this basement lair that's under an abandoned old library is where you guys live. And the Billhooks know you're here. They don't know where you are. And that is hurting your reputation with the Billhooks. Now the Hive. The Hive is where you guys did your score. So not only did you go after the Hive, you went after the second command of the Hive, and you went in his home, which does a couple things. One, it makes them from a -1 interfering reputation to a -2 hostile. And the reason is because, one, they are enemies with your main contact, Adelaide, but now you've also robbed the home of Oris, their second in command. The other thing that happened is you'll notice that they are a tier 4 faction, but they used to have a strong hold on their tier. That strong has been turned to weak because of what they allowed to happen. So you guys, by doing this, have weakened the Hive slightly. If you were to hit them again, they potentially could drop to a tier 3 faction. Now, over on the right side is a little bit more good news. One, you guys had no neutral reputation. You had neutral reputation with the Blue Coats, who are the City Watch, the police that enforce the laws of Duskfall. Now you're at +1 because you guys made the choice to pay tribute to Mick Wheatley, who was the person who tipped you off to the score. So that slightly improves your reputation and relationship with the Blue Coats. You still maintain a +1 with the Lost. They helped you set up the lair, and they did it so it would hurt the Billhooks, who they're enemies with. And you gained a reputation from +1 to +2 with the Crows. And that is because you were able to recover the blackmail with Lissa. So the next thing we talk about is payoff. Now, at the end of session 1, I went through how much you were paid, but what we didn't talk about is how you got paid. So who's going to pay you for this information?
Well, presumably Adelaide is going to pay us for successfully recovering the information. And if Galen has anything to say about it, he'll be, maybe not in money, but he'll be making some thick as thieves friends with some other information brokers like Celia.
All right, so what we're going to do with Downtime is going to be a series of montages, vignettes, and things like that. So time is going to be shifting. We're going to go forward in time, back in time, and we're going to hit all of these points. So that's what I want to do now. So we can see Galen has decided, you know what? As he looks at this information on Lissa, he says, I need to get this into Adelaide's hands. So the camera fades, and where do we open?
This is, well, we have never met Adelaide specifically, but we would open wherever the drop point for information is, and we would have sent information to this previously going, we have the information for you, but I'm not going to just dead drop it. You want this in someone's hands. So we're going to show up at that, call it a pub, maybe?
Okay, so let's do that. So it's a pub and night market. So we see Galen walk into this pub at night market, and it's not very crowded. Very similar to a Victorian English pub. You've got all kinds of different booths and coves surrounding it with a large bar in the center with a few tables. No one's sitting at those. Galen, as you look across the pub, you can see there's a gentleman sitting there, and he's got a small red pin attached to his lapel. And that is what you have always known from Adelaide to be her guy. Now, the guy itself or the woman changes, but it's that red scarlet pin that makes it, you know, that that's who you need to be talking to.
Excellent. I will, with a quick look around to see if there's anybody else wearing one, just in case, head over and sidle into the booth and order over a beer, given the night we've had, and give the call and response that has been set up before, so that, you know, I know he's him and I'm me, and etc. And essentially, I wouldn't just be bringing like a pack of envelopes, but I would have like a bag essentially,
okay,
and make sure that that is kind of put in the booth between my feet, so it's something I can kind of move over once we're doing a bit of fake chit-chat surreptitiously.
So he sits there and he goes, Galen, it's my understanding that I lost a bet and owe you a little bit of coin.
You might say that, sir. Turns out you can get honey from a hive of bees without getting stung too badly.
Well, I'd be lying to you if I told you it wasn't a bet I wasn't happy to lose, as is Mother. So here's the money I owe you. And he pushes over a large bag, and as we already know, it contains about 5 coin in it. And coin is the currency of Blades in the Dark, and to give everybody an idea, 1 coin is about a week's worth of wages for the average person. So 5 coin is a nice little haul. So he pushes that over, saying, I think this makes us even.
I certainly wouldn't disagree with that, sir. Give my best to Mother when you see her, and I would kind of stretch it back, and as I'm putting it in my pocket, I'd slide over with my foot, looking like I'm stretching the leg to between his feet, and go, and time that with, give my best to Mother when you see her.
She'll be very pleased, very pleased. All right, so we cut away. You guys are now paid. Galen comes back with a bag of 5 coin. He keeps 1 for himself, gives 1 to Reagan, gives 1 to Elias, and kind of sets the 1 for Cornelius, who's still smiling but dead asleep on the couch. Sets that on the table for him. The 5th coin, where do you guys store kind of your overflow coin? Where in the lair would you guys keep coin?
We don't have a vault, right? So I'm thinking a library. There could be like area with like hollowed out books that could have maybe a fake storage behind them, or several books glued together, and behind it there is like just a hole in the wall So it's basically just hidden a little bit, but if somebody tries to go through the books, they would be able to find it, I think.
Do we keep it in the accounting section, or is that too on the nose?
I was going to say the tax code, but I like
Nice.
your idea.
As we say, like, the biggest shadow is under the candle. I'm not sure the equivalent in English, but I like the accounting section.
Oh, that's fantastic. So that's done. That's taken care of. So the next thing that's kind of on the to-do list is right now you have a clock going, Galen, and it's related to Celia, who is your information broker. And remind us who Celia is.
Celia is my, as you said, information broker. She runs essentially a nightlife tabloid, talking about rumors of the rich and famous and where you should go hang out in the evenings. But really what she trades in is the deeper secrets than that, and that's what her journalists bring her.
And how did you acquire this clock? And what's the name of the clock?
The clock is, let me pull it up here. It is Celia's, or Payback Celia, or Celia's Patience, really was what we had called it initially. So yeah, I essentially said, thank you for the information, and don't use anything about the Lissa blackmail that you already know that you've given me where to look for it, and in return, I will give you something juicier.
Okay. So where are we going to work on that clock at all?
Yes, I very much, figuring this would be montagey, I'm trying to stack doing things all in one spot. So I plan on taking the other information we got from the vault, or not the vault, yeah, the vault.
Yeah,
the safe.
The safe.
There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm taking that, which was the packet of just information about Oris, which was what I had given Reagan when she jumped in. But I also grabbed a couple extra goodies that I hadn't really looked at yet, and we can talk about what those are later. But I'm going to take just all of that to Celia and basically go, the big thing about Oris is the big cookie for this time to pay you back, and then I brought a couple extra things, so now we're even, and you owe me one.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. How many segments are on that clock?
There are 6 total, and we have 2 filled in.
All right. So let's do a roll. What do you think is a good roll to figure out how much we can tick off on that clock to get a sense of whether you have satisfied her and she's going to keep her yap shut?
I would say consort, given my relationship with her. Like, it's very much as much a friend relationship as you can have when you're not in the same gang together.
I'm good with consort. So let's do a consort. It's a controlled consort.
Okay.
So that's your position is controlled. Nothing too risky about this, and it's definitely not desperate. And I think it's standard effect.
Okay.
For it. Is there anything that you want to do to increase your die?
There's nothing I can do because I still have only 1 stress left.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's do your consort roll.
All right.
Okay. So you slide over. So for those that are watching that aren't familiar with Blades in the Dark, you roll 6-sided dice and you take the best of them. A 1, 2, or 3 is a failure. A 4 and a 5 is a success with complications, and a 6 is just a success. So in this case, we ended up with a 3. So you hand her the papers, and she pulls them out, and she starts going through them and looking at them, and she goes, I already know all of this, Galen. There's nothing new here. I already know what the Hive has been involved with. I know who they work with on Galen, this is useless to me.
Well, apologies, my dear. I'll make sure to do better next time, but I figured if it was in his personal safe inside of his house, that there might have been a nugget or two out of your reach.
Galen, we have a good friendship. But when I give you information, I expect good information in return. And this just does not cover it. All right, so we cut away from that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to do a little bit more work, I think, on Celia, because that did not satisfy it. So now let's talk about heat. That was something we figured at the end of session 1. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the Umbral Means' character sheet here, and you guys got a total of 4 heat from this process. So that's something that we potentially are going to be dealing with or leaving alone. I don't know here as we move into downtime activities. Last but not least, before we get into actual downtime, is the entanglements. So at the end of every score, depending on how much heat you have, you do what's called an entanglement roll. And as it results, there's going to be some sort of repercussion to the score. So for you guys rolled for entanglement, and you ended up with questioning. So what that means is an NPC, one of your contacts, one of your friendly contacts, is going to get scooped up by the Bluecoats. So first of all, I need to know who's offering up their contact.
Can't exactly be mine is the thing. Unless we want to get real weird with it.
So for those watching, Reagan, being a whisperer, he chose a ghost as his friendly contact. So let's eliminate her from this. So I need either Cornelius's contact, Galen's, or Elias's.
I think Elias will step up here. His contact, Valeris, is a spy that could potentially be rounded up.
So I'm imagining, Elias, it's several days later. Remember, for this downtime, we're going to be jumping back and through with time. I'm imagining that she's walking down the street and she finds herself stopped by a group of Bluecoats. And at the very back of that group is a gentleman. And the people watching the episode recognize him. He's got mutton chops, a little bit heavy set, and he goes by the name of Nancy. Now, we learned in session 1 that Nancy is a Bluecoat at the same level, an inspector level with Mick Wheatley, but infamous for the level of corruption that he's involved with. In fact, such that you were able to get the attention of the guards at the home of the Hive. They knew who Nancy was. Nancy pulls her aside, takes back to the precinct house, puts her in a room, and they go through hours of interrogation. And what we need to figure out now is we're not really going to get into why Nancy pulled her away, but the conversation is related to the break-in at the Hive. It's also related to the Umbral Means themselves. So what I need to do now is we need to do a roll. So let's go and talk about the Entanglement Roll for, let's see, for questioning. All right, so you're going to make a fortune roll, Elias. We'll have you roll it for her. On a 1 to 3, you're going to gain 2 heat. Which means she told a good bit about you guys, probably confirming that it was you. On a 4 or 5, you'll only gain 1 heat. And on a 6, she keeps her mouth shut.
Gotcha.
Now, you also have the option of potentially making it all go away for 2 coin. So I think the first decision is for you as a crew to decide, are you going to burn 2 coin to make sure that all of this doesn't go away, and the off chance you don't get a 6.
Looking at, so right now we have 4 heat. If we get 4 more, then that puts us to wanted, and we'll have to do a bunch of other stuff to kind of drop that. I feel like it kind of depends how people are. I'm assuming at least two actions might be devoted to relieving stress, depending on roles. But I'm sure that's a thing we could do.
From the gaming perspective, but it's maybe too metagaming. I feel like it's more effective to spend the coin on extra reduce heat action, but I would play it more. What would Umbral means do? What would the crew that thrives in being not known, being in the shadows do? I would say they would pay off Nancy.
Yeah, I tend to agree, especially since we're up and coming and we're trying to gain traction and a reputation eventually once we start gaining that traction. And losing a damn knife at the previous heist is not the greatest start, so...
Yeah, and the more, given the setup that we kind of did as we were leaving to point it towards the billhooks, the more confusion there is, the less perfectly well-known publicly or even officially to the blue coats information there is, the easier that will be to kind of sow seeds of misinformation. So yeah, I agree. Let's pay them off.
Okay, so let's go ahead and on the umbral beans, I'm going to take away 1 coin, which means that we need somebody to get rid of their coin.
I think Elias needs to because of the knife snafu.
All right.
I think he's the one that needs to suffer the consequence on that.
So, Elias, go ahead and drop that coin for me from on your character sheet, so you're left with no coin. What I need to know, though, is there's a couple ways this coin could prevent you from getting heat. So, in my mind, and if you don't like this, we can do something else, but in my mind, this interrogation of your contact takes a good part of the day, and you get wind of it. You find out that she is in the precinct, and she's getting grilled, and Reagan... explains to you who she's getting grilled by, Nancy. Who are you going to pay that 2 coin to? There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I was going to say at this point, I'm kind of going down the route of talking with Reagan to reach out to Mick Wheatley to arrange either a meeting or some sort of rendezvous with Nancy or someone that with Nancy to square this out.
We'll go pay off that parking ticket.
Yes, yeah, pay off the parking ticket.
All right, so
I feel like also like not having it lead to anyone else. Like they picked this person up, but like they know me, so and. At least Wheatley knows that I'm relatively involved because we paid him money. So I would assume that like Reagan would be fully happy with like kind of taking the brunt, like being the face of that kind of that endeavor. If that's all right with you, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great.
all right, so here's the scene. We see Elias come in and say, you know, they picked up my girl. And it's Nancy that has her, and Elias doesn't seem real sure that she's going to keep her mouth shut. So Elias walks over, pulls the accounting books back, grabs the bag of coin out, and hands it to Reagan. And then you see him pause for a second as he reaches into his coat and pulls out a second coin and puts it in Reagan's hand. What does Elias say to Reagan?
So yeah, puts that coin out. I look Reagan dead in the eyes, and being super, I guess, white-faced and this embarrassment of what happened, just turning bright red of embarrassment. After all this has happened, everything else, I look at Reagan and say, Reagan, let's make this right. I will take this out of my cut. I feel responsible for this, and this is my effort to try to make this right.
Well, if there was ever anyone who was going to be doing the questioning, then it is best that Nancy is doing so. There's at least kind of weighing like the coin. There's at least some avenues that make him a bit forgetful.
So next we see Reagan leave. She goes up the steps, opens the cellar door, and steps out. The camera then smash cuts to a corner of Night Market, very, very dark, and we see Wheatley smoking a cigarette, leaning against one of the buildings, and Reagan approaches.
It's usually polite to offer to someone. Looking at the cigarette.
What are you doing here? Well, of course, little lady, here you are. And he pulls out, hands you a cigarette.
Well, I just wanted to thank you for your diligent work. And
pats on his pocket and he goes, "Oh, no, thank you."
It's come to my attention that someone else is doing very diligent work.
How so?
Our good friend Nancy.
He shakes his head. What's he doing now?
Well, what he's doing is talking to people. And given the breadth and width of your influence, I'm sure that you could move something along to him to maybe stay a few of his questions.
Oh, spooky lady, he's expensive, you know that.
Well, it wouldn't do to display so openly, but I think I have something that will entice him.
And, you know, I wasn't planning on going talking to Nancy. So, is there well, you know, it's a little out of my way.
I'll tell you what. Your little tidbit made it so I lost favor with you. So, how about this? I will owe you one.
I like it. So you guys serendipitously exchange the coins. He puts out the cigarette, walks away. All right, so that's it. Entanglement is finished. We imagine a scene, no dialogue or anything. We see Nancy standing outside of the room as one of his goons is given Elias's contacts the heat. She hasn't said anything, by the way. We see Mick walk up, have a conversation, a handshake, a bag is exchanged. Everybody's let go. So now we get to downtime. So the way downtime works is you guys have several options about what you can do in downtime, and they're activities. By default, because, and there's other things that could impact this later, you guys each get 2 downtime activities. You have the option of spending a coin to get a third as well. But actually, I jumped ahead. First, we cut to cold sweat breaking out on Cornelius as he's laying there, and his eyes start to flutter open. And Cornelius has never done trance before, and he's coming out of it now. And unfortunately, well, there's good news and bad news. The good news is, boy oh boy, nothing lets the stress go away like being high for about 7 hours straight. So let's start there, Cornelius. Let's open up your sheet and let's drop that stress down to 0. That's the good news. Yeah. The bad news is the person who jammed that trance dust into the guards and saved the score and ended up inhaling some of it himself, that guy is not the same guy that's waking up. So you're going to take a trauma, which is what happens when you go to max stress during a score. You have a couple of options. You can be cold, haunted, obsessed, paranoid, reckless, soft, or unstable, or vicious. The man that went to sleep and now the man waking up. What's different about him?
I'm thinking I want to build on some of my history, which we might see today a little bit or maybe later. And since I have the ghost ward for some reason, I'm thinking like he had a good time, but once the trance was like he was getting rid of it from his system, it was maybe not so nice in the end, and he would be haunted. By haunted, it might be somebody from his past or multiple ghosts from his past that just are not giving him a good night's sleep since this trance happened, or trance trip, I should better say.
All right, so why don't you go ahead and mark haunted on your sheet?
Yep.
And to be specific, this haunted is related to the Ghost Veil?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so now I mean it. Now we're going to get into downtime activities. And I think I want to start with Roman. So Galen's first downtime activity, what is it going to be?
Oh, it's got to be his vice. He's got to relieve some stress.
Okay.
And I imagine this actually, like I said, stacking ideas here. I imagine it's actually starting as soon as he's handed over the information to Celia, because they have a good working relationship. And even though he kind of comes away from that of like, what are the chances that getting stuff out of the second in command's from the Hive's personal safe, that she knew everything out of this? What are the chances? So as he's like picking up the pieces and secreting them away in his coat, he's apologetic but laughing it off, and basically says, "It has been a night that I was not expecting. What do you know of anywhere that they have some live music going on tonight? We can go, get a drink, or I'll just go myself if you're busy." But he's kind of just looking for friendly companionship, to enjoy some live music and just the feeling of people enjoying life around him. That's about as close as he feels he's going to get to. He's not looking for high-end, highbrow performing arts. He's looking for, live music of a fiddle in a pub and putting his feet up and laughing at some joke.
Well, Celia declines.
Okay.
You're not her favorite person. She feels that she kind of potentially put herself on the radar with the Hive by giving you that information that she gave you and got nothing in return. So this is going to be on your own, Galen. So you tell me where you're headed. And first of all, let's talk about your vices, pleasure performing arts. That's how you relieve stress, right? So
yes.
What does that look like for Galen?
Kind of like I just said, if he were in a better way with money, he would totally love to go see a play or like a symphonic orchestra, something like that. But for the kind of night it is where he's literally spent the whole job just pretending out and out to be somebody else, and those are skills he has, he wants to just be able to be a wallflower, listening to some live music with a cold drink, and maybe, playing some games in a bar with whoever's around that doesn't want to stab him in the kidney.
Okay, so you're headed in that direction. So now the way that this works is, for indulging your vice, you're going to roll your weakest attribute rating. And for you, nice build, by the way, you don't have one because you have evenly split it between all three: insight, prowess, and resolve. So that means you get to choose. Is this going to be, what's going to relieve your stress? Your insight, your prowess, I keep putting an N in there for some reason. Your prowess or your resolve?
I think in this case it's going to be insight. Like he is kind of kicking himself over the fact that he didn't look a little bit longer in the safe before shutting it to find something that he knew she didn't know. And so he's going to be really playing up as he's listening to the music. He's going to be playing a little game with himself of let's people watch and figure out what they're doing that they shouldn't be, or that they don't think anybody else is noticing.
All right, so you get to roll 2 dice. Let's give him a roll.
There is actually a indulge vice button that I believe will set that all up for you.
Oh, where is that?
It is
Next to the traumas area.
Right above it.
Ah, yes. Bonus dice, none. Submit.
Very nice. You're going to take the highest of the 2, which is a 5. That means you get to drop 5 stress.
I'll take it. Down to 3. That's much more reasonable.
So, I imagine Galen is sitting, enjoying an ale, watching a
Stout.
A stout, okay. Enjoying a stout, and enjoying a young woman who is singing at the bar. So it's really not any kind of official performance or anything. He just knows at this pub, on these nights, she often has just enough to drink that she ends up on top of a table and singing songs from her old country. And it's something that Galen appreciates, and Galen, I would imagine you've always thought, you know, if she drank a little less and got her act together, she could go to a much nicer stage. But this is what you got for the money that you have. But it ends up relieving a good bit of stress for you, so congratulations. How about Elias? What is Elias going to do for his first downtime activity?
Well, with all the stuff that has transpired earlier in the day, his obligation and his vice is to really spend some time with his father that raised him as a child. So he's going to make his way over to the, let's see, to his father's old machine shop there in Coleridge, where his father has a loft set up over the machine shop, and he's going to bring him some ale and some food. His father's disabled. He's missing a leg, down on hard times, prevents him from working and making a living due to an unfortunate event, which might come up later as we progress in the game or in the world. But he's going to just go spend some time with him.
And he's got to be just so happy to see you, Elias. One, anytime somebody you care about shows up again in Duskville, it's nice, because you're never guaranteed that your goodbye is not going to be the last goodbye, just by the nature of this world that you all live in. You guys get a chance to catch up. I imagine you have a few extra maybe coins here and there, not a coin, but small little shillings or whatever that you're able to pass over to him to help him out for the next week or two. And you get a chance to not be a criminal. And that's nice. It's nice just to be a son who doesn't hurt people, a son that doesn't steal from people, to be in the presence of somebody who is proud of you. And that just has got to relieve some stress. So this is going to be a resolve roll for you, because that currently is your weakest attribute.
Okay.
All right, so you're going to go ahead and you're going to indulge your vice for 1 die.
Mm-hmm. No bonus, is that right?
That's correct. All right, so not bad. A 3. So go ahead and drop your stress by 3. And it was a good conversation, and it was a good night. There was some contention. There was a conversation that was a little bit of a hard conversation, having to deal with some family business, some things that are it's a little bit of a scab on your relationship, and he started picking at it a little bit. It wasn't a full-blown, I mean, you guys have had full-blown arguments about whatever this is, but you were able to kind of redirect him, push another drink in front of him, and kind of talk about sports. So it did relieve a decent amount of stress for you, which is good. Now my drug addict. I mean Talos. Cornelius, you have taken a shower, which is basically just the sink. Cleaned yourself up a little bit, changed your clothes because they smell. They smell of your sweat. And you feel pretty good. In fact, you feel a little guilty, I would imagine, because of this. Everybody else just is just stretched. What is the old Tolkien?
Butter, too much
not enough
bread.
butter on too much bread.
And I just woke up feeling great. I just saw our dough that we received right after I woke up. I took the coffee. I just remember having some strange dream, which was about somebody I knew on Iruvia. Maybe it was it was my arch enemy, but why? Why would he? Because he's already dead. I took care of it. So why would that person appear there? But he shrugs it off, and still next day, maybe next night, this happens again. He remembers that person as he was speaking to him again maybe in his dreams, but it seemed so vivid. So based on his history, Talos always brings his trinket. It might be it's not a small gemstone, it's maybe a necklace, silver necklace that he carries around. That's That's from his good friend from Iruvia. But that friend, and the reason why there is this arch nemesis, he's dead as well. And that's why Talos learned how to do a ghost ward. That was what I've chosen in the session 0. And he just wants to get rid of all the ghosts, but it seems that he still cannot get rid of all the ghosts because they still invade his dreams. So my downtown action would be a crafting one.
Nice.
And I believe there was an item that would allow me to actually catch a ghost. I can't. Have to find the crafting.
They are spirit bottles.
Yes. And I think this would be a project. It would take me a few days in my den. I would have to go out, pick an item or two, and start putting that together. And maybe try to connect it with my skill of making a ward. And I would like to trap a ghost. And I think as well, feel free, Joe, to step in at any time, because I think your intention would not be very happy of me doing such a thing. And you might recognize it, you might not, but I think there might be a place for interaction that you might be seeing, like me stepping to the table, getting ready to start to put everything together, just pushing the books out of the way, making space on the table, and trying to create this spirit bottle.
Interesting.
It's called Ghost Scourge. Plasmically charged chain connected to a spirit bottle to entangle a spirit and draw it into a bottle. And it has a conspicuous drawback. This creation doesn't go unnoticed. Take +1 hit if used any number of times. So this would be my project. Not sure if it's a long-term project or a short one, but I leave that up to you.
Well, it's going to be, it's arcane, and it's a tier 4 creation. So let's do this. Let's see, where is the roll for it? Got it. Okay. Let's go ahead and on your sheet, if you'll go ahead and start a clock for me.
So
let's make it. I'll make it a for tier 4. It's probably going to be a 6.
Oh, my PC seems to be stuck. Always when we play, bad things happen.
And you can call the clock. Crafting on this. And we can put it in later if you need to do it. Are you able to roll?
I'm in now it works. Let's see. If it gets stuck up again, I will just reset. So how do I start? Oh, there's this plus button. Okay.
Yep, bottom right.
Oh, okay. And you mentioned 6 or 8?
Yeah, 6 segment. Okay. And all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a crafting roll. So it's going to be 1 die for each tinker action dot. So how many tinkers do you have?
2 in tinker.
All right, so you'll roll 2 die. Are you going to spend any coin on this? Any coin you spend would add a die.
No, not yet. Maybe
okay.
Later.
And then you don't get a +1 quality for a workshop crew upgrade. So you're going to roll 2 dice. So let's go ahead and roll your tinker.
Okay, so what's the position?
It's going to be controlled with standard effect.
And no bonus dice. Okay.
Correct.
Let's see.
All right, so with 5, let's see, you get to do... you're going to go ahead and click 2.
Yeah. All right.
And
so there'll
be a consequence for that. And I think the consequence I'm going to do is when it's done, you're only going to be able to use it twice. Now you have the option to resist it.
No, that seems fair enough.
Okay, so if you can just put a notes in your notes section, that it'll have
I'm
two uses. So Reagan. What are we going to do with our downtime?
Well, I'm very excited about this. So I feel like there is there's one kind of evening where like Reagan is just like not around for like afternoon until like probably like super early in that morning. She takes like a few items from her arcane supply and heads out into the slum somewhere quiet and with very little blue coat presence. Kind of setting up in a quiet corner of let's say it's like some kind of like old school, like some sort of charity drive, like a noble like put together like a school to help enrich the area. Of course, because it's duskfall and nothing good ever happens, immediately fell into disrepair. That particular noble was kind of scorned socially of kind of conversing with the lower classes, and she begins like the camera kind of cuts into her essentially like arranging things like soot and iron powder in a kind of loose circle, and then kind of tracing her finger in to make symbols. In the center of the circle itself is actually one of those spirit bottles that she has placed, and kind of glows with a dull, almost like electric blue light. And she puts, when that is done, she puts on a mask that is white wood, but there are no signs of it being crafted. The mask is kind of covers like the upper part of her face, and it curls into horns, and it has black marks around the eyes. It doesn't look like it was crafted. It looks like it was grown that way.
Nice.
Like it was naturally occurring. And she is going to unleash the spirit that is within that bottle.
And what comes out?
There is the suggestion of a humanoid form in the same sort of blue light. It kind of crackles and snaps as it makes motions, and it seems to be contained within whatever circle she has created. And we see the cut of her looking down and looking up, and we can see through the eye holes of the mask her eyes have grown completely milky white, similar to how she accessed the ghost veil. And she says in a weirdly resonant voice, "I commit myself to your reconciliation. While you consent to this incantation, you have my ear and my compassion. For this, I will ask for nothing in return, but will not deny any offered courtesy." That being done, the spirit moves from a less of a suggested humanoid form to what appears to be a woman, in kind of still in that light, but much clearer and more defined. And the ghost nods once, and then Reagan asks, "What is the source of the anger that keeps you here?" And I don't know if you want to roleplay this out with me, Craig, but
no, you know her better than I do, my friend. I want you to teach. I want to learn about Nyrix through you.
So Nyrix is a possessor ghost. They are tied to this world, and the sort of relationship that Reagan and Nyrix have is they will have these conversations with each other, and then Nyrix will be allowed periods of time where they are allowed to go out into the world. And as long as they don't get caught or captured, Reagan is fine with it. Whatever they do, whatever. But there is an understanding that something that Reagan did previously that gave them this ability. There is almost this kind of dependence.
And I'd be curious, how does Reagan feel about that relationship?
This is something that Reagan almost relishes. We've seen her in the score, like, kind of being, aside from moments of, like, regret, she doesn't have much emotion to her. But there is this moment where there is this whole ceremony of performing this rite and looking very serious, and then, like, just kind of, as she looks up to ask, like, what is the source of this anger, she, like, smiles. She, like, fully brightens up. Like, this is a tether to a world that Reagan enjoys.
Very, very cool. So we are going to indulge your vice.
Yes.
All right, and to do that, we're gonna use it would be either prowess or resolve.
Resolve is the more social. I'm very bad at them, but that is kind of more of what's going on.
All right, let's see how it goes.
Twice. No bonuses.
Ooh.
People can't see what you rolled, a 5. So it was a good visit.
Hmm.
A very good visit. So let's go ahead and drop your stress down. All right. So everybody has done one downtime activity. We're going to cut back to Elias. Elias is leaving his father. Feeling pretty good, Elias. And what was going to be your second downtime activity?
Well, to kind of piggyback off of visiting my father, I thought about utilizing his machine shop that's right downstairs, and do a crafting action to try to modify my rifle.
Okay.
I'd like to modify my long rifle to be quickly disassembled and assembled in multiple pieces, so I don't have a large long gun on straddling my back and or trying to hide it under my coat. Something more mobile.
Interesting. Okay. So let's take a look here real quick. I'm going to open up your sheet. So I think what we'll do is we're going to count your rifle as your large weapon, right? Which normally would take up 2 spots for gear. So if you were going to if you were going to pull your weapon out on a score, it would cost you 2 spots on your load. Let's say that once this crafting is done, it'll only count as 1 spot.
Sounds good.
Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
All right, so it is going to be a tinker roll. I would ask you if you're going to spend coin, but your ass is broke.
Yeah.
So it'll be a straight tinker roll. It's going to be standard effect, so you'll have the ability to clock 2 clocks. This will be a 6er as well. So if you'll go down and create a new clock.
Yeah. Clock.
And this will be a 6 segment. And then this will be for the rifle mod.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and do your tinker roll.
All right. So click on Tinker position.
Position is going to be controlled with a standard effect.
Controlled standard effect. Okay.
All right. Go ahead and hit 2 ticks on it then. And when you fill that up, then your rifle will be easily disassembled. So this is going to take some time. But that's a darn good start to get that taken care of. How about Galen? He finally finishes his night out and thoroughly enjoyed listening to this poor drunk woman singing in the tavern. What is Galen's second downtime activity?
So the second downtime activity for Galen is probably of what we've done what I imagine to be the most stretched out over the amount of time. And it actually will start before he leaves that pub. And that is to reduce the heat for his crew.
Very nice.
And I see that as essentially as she is taking a break for her voice to get another drink, etc., people start talking. Gossip is exchanged. He inserts himself into a few conversations. People he might know by sight from this pub or around, etc., and starts, just dropping into the conversation. Oh, I heard the Hive got broken into by the billhooks of all people, and really driving that angle. And anybody that says, oh, I heard it was the Umbral Means, he just either ignores them and goes, who? Never heard of them. What have you been drinking? Just things like that. And he starts that evening out and kind of makes his way back to the hideout, dropping by a few more places to similar effect. And that'll probably continue over the next couple days, whether not always at the pub, but wherever there's conversations or information, rumors to be had, he's kind of there just pulling on those spiderweb strings, pointing everything towards the billhooks and away from us.
I like it. I like it. All right, so let's do this. Let's make this well, you tell me what the roll is.
Especially the way I started describing that. It's definitely it's a non-hostile situation. People are just exchanging gossip. And especially if they're people that, you don't necessarily know them, but you know them by sight. You might know a little bit about them. Definitely a consort is kind of what I'm seeing here.
Okay, so for consort, let's see here. For consort, I'm going to make this a risky roll.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you standard effect. So risky standard. Now, I'll tell you that sway would increase your effect. So you'd go from standard to great.
I do like great effect.
So instead of 2 ticks, it would be 3 ticks. But you lose a die.
And we
I
do
thought
get a die, right?
I was going to say, I thought the ticks were determined by what I roll.
Oh, is it? I could be wrong.
Yeah. On reduce heat, it's you pick what it is and you reduce heat according to the result. 1, 2, 3 is 1, 4, 5 is 2, 6 is 3.
Oh, all right, never mind then.
Cool. And the reason I'm the one doing this, because this is also definitely something that before he even went out to go speak to Celia, he would tell the rest of them, I'm going to be late because A, I need a drink after this, and I need to be away from all of you in stressful situations for a minute, and B, I'm going to cover our asses.
Fantastic. So let's do a consort roll then.
Okay, and let's see. Oh, and I also get a +1 result level when I acquire an asset or reduce heat because of my connected ability.
And for the crew slippery, you get plus die.
Oh, is that where we have that too? Excellent. I'm like, I knew I was forgetting something.
So is that going to be four dice?
No, it should still be 3 dice because I'm only getting the 2 on consort, but whatever I roll, it's the next one up.
Oh, got it. Okay, I'm with you. Got it. So it's not an extra die, it's an extra result. Got it.
Yeah. So
That sounds even more broken.
all right, risky standard.
Yep.
Or I guess that
Doesn't really matter.
doesn't really matter. Okay, so bonus die. Let's do this. All right, so that is a 3, which is only a very small amount, but it actually goes up to like a 4 or 5, so it's reducing 2.
Great. So on the umbral means, if we can open up that sheet and let's drop your heat down by 2, it cuts it in half.
I'll take it.
Yeah, well done. All right. Captain No Stress, Cornelius. As you're crafting this, what do you want to do as your second downtime?
So I'm thinking like we're crafting. We in this library we basically have a like shop area, like workshop area, which I need to share with Elias. Right? We need to like take turns who uses the tools and the tables. But I noticed that Elias is building his rifle, and I approach him once he finishes his making it 2 parts to be better concealed, and like, oh, I see you upgraded your rifle. So I was wondering, I was always quite I always sucked at shooting, but I was wondering if it seems that I might need to pick up that skill based on our last session. I was wondering if you could take me up to the, let's say, shooting range there and show me a trick or two. And this would reflect me training in prowess, I'm thinking.
Excellent.
Because we should have training ground, so I should get a 2 XP in that one.
All right, so Elias is teaching you how to shoot.
Exactly.
All right, so you are very close to reaching another pip in prowess, so very, very nice. Reagan, after your time with Nirix, what are you doing next?
So Reagan returns that early morning, and is kind of like, she should be going to sleep, but she's kind of like fidgeting a bit because she's got an idea kind of circling. So she pulls out like a the look of it is like very, very grimoire-esque, but it's essentially just like her notebook, and she is going to be working on a new ritual.
Oh, okay. All right, so now you're going to make me pull out the ritual rules. Hold on one second. All right. So, what does the ritual do, and how is it weird?
So, the way I am thinking of this is the first ritual that we've now seen a bit of is able to give ghosts an echo of the memories that they held in life, which means that memory is something that a whisper can do something with. And to kind of assist the crew, what the ritual does is it can provide a brief period of amnesia in a living, let's call it, subject.
Okay.
And it's weird because what it needs to what the ritual is actually doing, it is using memories that kind of echo within the veil and supplants those memories within the subject.
I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Super thematic too.
Now, being focused just on one, your magnitude will be 0 on that because it's really you're only looking to affect one person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. So we'll definitely require an action roll. So what action are you going to go for?
I mean, it's a tune. It's pulling echoes from the ghost veil into someone else's mind.
Trying to think. So in your mind, what is the new belief or fear does the knowledge of this ritual and its attendant occult forces instill in you?
So it's kind of building off what I have from the previous ritual, in that like there are more things, because like Reagan isn't trained in the occult. She is much more figuring it out as she goes along. So the idea that like doing whatever like arcane math and like coming to a conclusion of like, oh fuck, this could work, that's terrifying even of itself, because then what does memory mean to her? What do her experiences mean, both to her as like a living being, and how does that then reflect into the veil?
All right, so I'm going to definitely require you to get a source for this new ritual. So we're probably going to have to do this in two pieces, which is we're going to have to acquire an asset first, and then you can hold off on this ritual for next downtime, or you can spend the coin to make this a third downtime to actually acquire the ritual itself. But the first thing you're going to have to do is acquire an asset. So what is the asset that you're going to need in order to learn this ritual?
What's a cool, spooky artifact? There is... Okay. So when ghosts are destroyed, they become almost a crystalline structure. What I need to do to begin work on this ritual is acquire a mirror made out of that substance.
I like it. So, Dice Lobber, who is in the chat, says, Joe is making a ritual to go all men in black with witnesses. So just like a men in black.
Hi, Travis. Love you very much. And yes,
100%. That's fantastic. All right, so we're going to roll the cruise tier to determine the relative quality of this asset, and the tier is 0. So you're going to roll 2 dice, take the lowest.
So, is there a way to easily do that? Is there a way where you can just roll the tier?
So, and I'm trying to see here. Yeah, I'm not going to require this to be permanent.
You can press the tier directly.
Yep. I
and this is not a dangerous item, so there's nothing else here. So let's go ahead and let's acquire that asset.
Okay. And I get a bonus die from Galen. Is that correct? For acquiring assets?
For acquiring an asset or reducing heat.
Oh, okay. So it's going to end up being 1 die. So you'll gain an additional die. It's going to take some time, I think, for you to be able to track this down. What are the difficulties? So where would you go to try to acquire this? So we know what it is. Where would you go to find this, Reagan?
Yeah, that certainly is the question, huh? I feel like she begins kind of similar to us, like getting the necklace. Like she's going to pawn shops and like looking around at mirrors to see if like they don't understand what they have, and kind of using that as a route to get to it. And with it taking time, she's not going to find what she's looking for in pawn shops, but she is going to, like, as the time kind of wears on, she's going to be a bit more broad about like the description of the particular thing she's looking for.
So
and
here's what I'm going to do, Joe, is let's go ahead and start a clock, and it's only going to be 4 segments. And let's have an acquire mirror clock, and that 3 will go ahead and give you 1 segment of that clock.
Cool. And is this an opportunity where I can use my 1 coin to up the success rate of that.
Let's see here. Can you spend... you can up the quality with coin,
Okay,
but I don't think we can up the clock.
gotcha.
All right, so we'll just go ahead and... The 3 will get you a one segment on that clock. All right, so now I need to find out, is there anybody that wants to do a third downtime activity?
Cornelius wants to, for sure.
Okay, go ahead and burn your coin.
There we go. I'm broke again. So, we are shadows. We are the umbral means. We can't have any heat on us. And as Galen was getting out to spread the rumors that it was the billhooks, I will spend the coin. I will go to the markets, and I will start placing evidence, more of the evidence that would be pointing away from us, and more to billhooks. So there's the investment, and I will use my skills as a tinkerer to forge clues that would be pointing away from us. And Galen is the second part who takes the pointing away and directs it to the billhooks.
So we're going to use Tinker. Who can help? Let's group think this. What are some things that Cornelius can do to make and to adjust and to fiddle with to point eyeballs away from the umbral means and maybe towards the billhooks, or make the billhooks seem like more of a possibility for who broke into the Hive residence?
There could be floor plans drawn on whatever paper and with whatever sigils the billhooks like to use.
I like
Just kind
that.
of discarded like they were meant to go in the trash can. Totally missed.
I like that. All right, so we're gonna try to construct some blueprints, layouts, maps of Horus's house, and we're going to foolishly sign it. Let's see, who do we want to sign it? Who at the billhooks do we want to sign it for? Give me just a second here. Let's have you. You know what? I want you to sign it with so the leader of the billhooks is Tarval. He's currently in prison, and Aaron, his sister, is currently running the billhooks, but his son Corin is around, and he signed this like an idiot. So you forge Corin's signature on that. So let's go ahead and roll our Tinker.
Okay. So I should get extra die for the slippery. That's it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Should be 3 dice. Oh boy. Here we go.
All right, that's 6. So that's going to get you no heat.
We are the umbral means.
So despite
You didn't
the
see
fiasco,
I can see that we're returning both with Galen. Each of us returning from their own tasks that we had. We just nod, just enters, not speaking about it, because we know that we are both successful in spreading the rumors that it was the billhooks.
I love
after
it.
all.
Absolutely love it. Right. Anybody for a third downtime?
Oh, I'm debating it. But then we have, what, 1 coin left amongst all of us?
Yeah, I think I would leave just Reagan with a coin.
We can also spend rep, which is kind of representative of us not acting as a crew and kind of just going completely silent and like no one hearing anything about us, and we just kind of lose a bit of reputation as that goes.
And so the rep is used for what exactly? Like when we reach the threshold, we get
It's going to allow you to move up in tier.
increase tier. Okay. And
Yeah.
for
Move
increasing
up in
tier, we need to spend some dough as well, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it's it's spend coin now or make it take longer to spend coin later, essentially.
Well, yeah, it's not going to make anything cheaper, right? It's just going to take longer for you guys to move up in tier, which is the goal of the crew, right? Tiers are going to represent your influence, the size of your crew, the ability.
How good our retirement is.
Yep. I mean, ultimately, that's the group goal, is to raise your tier. Right now, you're tier 0 with a strong hold on that. You could potentially go to a weak 0, but right now, if you were to fill up your rep, you would obtain a weak tier 1.
So basically, tier 0 is just us, right?
Correct.
Okay. And this would be something that Galen would talk to everybody about, so I feel good talking to everybody. He goes, do we think we need a doctor?
Yes, that was actually going to be something I was going to think about. So, a few witches, that could work out, or we could just go for a regular doctor if that seems too spooky.
I don't know. I feel great, guys. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is sort of future-proofing. You feeling so great now. In the future, it might potentially be that you don't feel that great. I don't know.
So
Well, also the
there's
asset is temporary, right?
Correct. So there's 2 ways to do this. You could acquire a temporary asset, which would get you access to a physiker to be used once, and it could be next downtime. Or if you want to start another project, we could do a long-term project that would allow you to acquire a physiker, and that person would be at your disposal until I take it away.
Naturally. Oh, boy.
Or one of us could be a physiker, right? I think I saw a...
Yeah, any of you have access to physiker?
Yeah, I have a
All of
playbook.
us do, because we have veteran. So any of us, like when we get to that point of playbook, we could become a doctor.
Is there any downside on veteran? You can have only one veteran pick,
You can
right?
have three veteran. It takes one playbook fill to do, but you can take it 3 times, and you can take anything from any playbook.
Nice.
Yeah,
I have a
it's fun.
physiker normal one. You can tinker with bones, blood, and bodily humors.
Okay. And
what
I think that is definitely something we want. I just don't think we need it right this second.
Okay. And keep in mind that if you guys get beat up on this next score, you can take one of your downtime activities to find a temporary, right? To acquire an asset as the first activity, and the second activity could be the heal, the recover. So, but with long-term projects, the sooner you start it, the sooner it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
If we decide long-term project, we do it now, but
you're pushing into coin. This is not like it's a second downtime activity that doesn't have a cost associated to it. So,
Yeah.
Why do I feel anything Craig says is a devil's bargain?
Well, really, that's on all of us for getting him so used to it last session.
Yeah.
right.
Somebody was training.
that's funny.
All right. In that case, my vote would be let's keep the coin for now as an extra insurance against whatever we may need it for next time, which may be a doctor immediately. We don't know, but
Yeah, I
better
like
to
the
have it as
versatility.
the versatile ability. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I will hold on to my coin.
That was
What?
not going to be offered.
No, it was totally going to be. Like, Reagan doesn't care about money.
Nice. Reagan's, that's a good thing to keep around if somebody doesn't care about money. All right, so I think that officially ends downtime. Does that sound right? Okay. So now let's talk about your next move. So you guys can determine what your score is. You can give me an idea of what you want that score to be. One of the things that can be helpful is to do it based off of your Umbral Means map. So in the center of the map right now, you have Lair. Off of that, you could find a loyal fence. To the right, you could acquire turf, which will help make it easier for your rep to go up. because as you fill turf, it requires less rep. You could find covert drops. So when you do any type of espionage or sabotage actions, you get 2 additional coin. Or you could try to acquire some informants. So that's looking for a claim. But that doesn't mean that has to be what this next score is going to be.
I looked at the map, and the first thing I read was a drug den. Totally not intended.
We'll get there, I'm sure.
So that's 1 vote for informants to go that way, apparently.
Might be. So what's the turf extra? So when we increase in tier, we need to have a turf.
No, you could acquire no turf as a crew, but your rep would get longer. So let me just quickly show you. If you want to bring up your Umbral Means sheet, and if I click the turf, you see how it makes it.
Oh, right.
So you potentially, if right now you guys had 6 turf, you would already have enough rep to move up.
But we could get only 3 from this map, right?
Correct.
I feel like I'm voting for the covert drops. I feel like we're more espionage, sabotage based on the last one. It's maybe
It's geared more towards our skill set.
See, I really feel any of the 3 that aren't turf. Like turf is great, but I see that as narratively that's something we do as we get more notoriety anyway. And even though our also, I'd just like to point out that the hilarity of our reputation is we're untraceable, but people start knowing more about us. Like, this is just funny to me. Like, we are literally Batman in the shadows, except the gang.
I like... The thing is, like, the turf on the right, the only one we could get, leads to lookouts, which would be more like somebody's looking over our den when we're away, right? So, secret pathways, like, it's... Like, I guess this whole map is for shadows, so anything fits.
Yeah,
but
that's
like,
the idea.
Yeah.
So to kind of give you guys, just to give you some ideas. So common score types are criminal activity. So you'd probably want that to be related to thieving, spying, and sabotaging. Seize a claim, which is what we're talking about on the claim map. You could target a specific crew to help reduce their hold.
Bill hooks.
Or we can come up with something special.
Because what we know about the billhooks is that they are particularly aggressive. I like the idea of us, like, kind of confronting that in, like, kind of an undermining way, rather than, like, us, like, you know, we go to the billhooks, we steal a cool thing that they have, and then they're like, oh, someone broke into our stuff. I like the idea of kind of using a score to kind of spread, like, rumors in a practical sense, and actually, like, confirming some of those. So if, like, we have, like, a list of things that we want people to think when they think about the billhooks, and then we kind of orchestrate that.
I like that.
So let me give you a little bit of background on the current situation of the billhooks. So currently, Aaron and Corin, which is the ant and the sun, they both want to take control of the billhooks gang, either when Turvo gets too old, which will be soon, or by taking the position by force. There's no love lost between Aaron and Corin, and they have no qualms about fighting a family member for leadership. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang wants to continue their reign of terror to pressure a magistrate to pardon Terval and other gang members and release them from Iron Hook, which is where Terval is being held. So I don't know if that gives you any ideas or not. Yeah. Their allies, and this is something to think about, are the Bluecoats and the Ministry of Preservation. Their enemies are Ulf Ironborn, the Lost, which you're +1 with, the citizenry of Crow's Foot, and the Docks. So the billhooks are phenomenal targets, I think, as far as fitting it in. I mean, you guys are +1 with the Lost, which is one of their enemies. You definitely are good with the Crows, which obviously the fact that the citizens of Crow's Foot are not a fan of them. So I think the billhooks, you can make, that could be a potential one now, and you can get crafty about this too. So is there something we can do to hurt the billhooks and acquire a claim?
Well, sorry, what is acquiring a claim?
That's on your map. So for example,
right.
Is there a way for you to acquire a loyal fence and hurt the billhooks? Or to acquire covert drops and or acquire turf, or acquire informants and hurt the billhooks?
See, the informants jumps out to me again, because say we got informants from one of their allies or from within them themselves, suddenly planting those rumors, or rather in this case, getting the information about which rumors to plant versus which to make come true. That's step one of that. I could see that. Honestly, you could twist that into covert drops too, of you're getting that information and you're dropping it off with the right people.
Well, covert drops are going to be basically finding ways or places where you can exchange. So, for example, a covert drop that you did in the tavern, right? Was when you connected to pay or to pass over that Lissa blackmail information. So essentially what you're doing is you're looking for permanent covert places where those exchanges can happen and they're secure. But covert drops could be people too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical place.
Or something like a rookery for like passenger pigeons.
Yep.
Not passenger pigeons, messenger pigeons. That's the one.
No, I like your first idea better. Just giant pigeons that we fly around the city.
Got it.
Are they African pigeons?
What if two pigeons carried us together?
I'm thinking the informants, and it might be somebody in the prison that would have, that could be listening to Tarble, being in the friendly prison crew.
Interesting.
And we could somehow get information from him.
I like that idea a lot.
So what we're talking about is potentially now, I would imagine informants in a prison, you really have kind of two spheres. That would be the prisoners and the guards.
So I was thinking the guards, because are the guards considered blue coats kind of way?
No, they're Iron Hook guards.
Their own faction.
Correct.
Oh.
So the score
I'm
might
thinking the
be
more prisoners than the guards themselves.
Okay. Now you're not going to gain all the prisoners, so can we specify it a little bit? What informant or informant network are you trying to build inside of Iron Hook?
Well, and I think the question is, if we're aiming for inside Iron Hook, like while the bill hooks are kind of the initial target, how can this be twisted to our ideas in the future as well, beyond the bill hooks? So I think if we're on that front, I would think the guards would be the better way, because they're grabbing information from the prisoners one way or another anyway, and they're not going to be just on Tarval. Whereas if you're getting it in the prisoners, you kind of have to pick new ones as they get released or as they're added in, and get them to work with whichever, or find ones that work with whichever your next score is against.
It would make more sense to be the guards, yeah? I like that more.
Okay, so we're going to try to acquire an informant network among the guards of Iron Hook. So that is going to be our score. I'd be interested in, what is your approach to doing that? Are you going to assault, deception, stealth, occult, social, or transport?
There was a hint for that, right? Somewhere. Was it on the sheet of... Oh, it was on my...
The easiest way I see this going is like acquiring a leverage over important guards, which feels social to me, but that's just one idea.
So maybe acquiring some sort of leverage over the guards as a population, some sort of way that you're going to be able to have something that's going to make them pliable to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what could that be? What social could be done as a score to gain some information that would allow you to gain the guards?
Are we talking social as a blackmail or something different?
So social is categorized as negotiate, bargain, or persuade. And the detail is going to be, what is the social connection that you're going to use in order to do this?
This feels like a negotiation to me. Like we get, well, once we have the information, it's a negotiation.
So I don't think that's your approach then, because you got it right.
Yeah.
So would the approach be more stealth because we're trying to either maybe follow or track some of these guards and try to dig up dirt on something they've got going on, and then approach it and after that?
Yeah. Even like acquiring records or movements within the...
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see if I can give us some more details here. Hold on a second here.
Are we selling books again?
This time we're getting into
Ironhook Prison, a towering metal fortress, and this is located just on the other side of the Dusk River from Coleridge. Ironhook Prison is a towering metal fortress where the worst or most unlucky criminals are incarcerated. Many are forced into labor in the southern fields and pit mines of Dunslow. The condemned are sent to scavenge in the Deathlands. So that's one reference that I have for us to work on. Something that's really neat about Blades in the Dark is it's purposely very vague. We get to create a lot of this city. But I want to just see what else Mr. Harper tells us about Ironhook. So give me just 1 second. Let me look at two.
I can't wait for Reagan to take a trip to the Deathlands. That's all I want. It's so cool out there.
And by cool, you mean deadly. So a towering metal fortress. This is in Dunslow. A towering metal fortress where the worst or the unlucky criminals are incarcerated. The poorest are forced to work in the Dunville labor camps. The most well-connected prisoners manage a comfortable stay and may even continue to run their criminal enterprises from behind bars. So we have got a ton of flexibility here. I'm willing to say that there is potentially a place where the guards spend their downtime.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to spitball ideas out here, guys. What else? We could potentially identify and recognize maybe somebody higher up among the Ironhook guards.
From another point of view, again, just spitballing, what if instead of thinking of this as a blackmail on the guards, thinking of it as if we present the guards with information of a network that they weren't aware of, some way that people are getting information out of the prison or into it, and do kind of a we scratched your back, you scratch ours.
All right, so let's think along that mind frame then. What could you give the Ironhook guards that they would find valuable?
Since people are able to run their criminal organizations through there, and whether that be through like sort of prisoner transfers of like people leaving, or whether it's by, I don't know, some other means, pull the pigeon idea back, however that works. What if like we find something that is directly used as the as like the passing the messages along, like what is, and it doesn't have to be Bill Hooks that we're looking at. It could be like someone else, and we can just kind of shut down someone's way of gathering information, and then come to the guards and say like, this is how people have been bringing information in and out. We have cut that source off for whatever faction it is. Or even like pull it into the negotiation thing of like, we don't even say like we have the information, and like figure out from that, like however that works out, of us like convincing the guards of this is a thing you want us to do, and maybe it's already done.
Yeah, or if not, cut it off directly. Be like, here's how they're doing it, and now you can use it, or we can use it for you, to give them the wrong information so that their gang on the outside doesn't do what they're supposed to.
And maybe if it's something that's not so common, they're getting the information through the veil in some way, and we can affect that. And the guards
you guys are getting ahead of yourself. You're getting way ahead of yourself here. So I think maybe we should do a gathering information.
Okay.
All right, and let's see if we can do some gathering information to try to kind of figure out if there's a leak, right? Where's the sand slipping through the fingers of the guards of Ironhook? So if we can get an idea of how you might figure that out, we can do that as a gathering information roll.
What if we reach out to my contact, the spy within the Bluecoats, to see if they have any inside information to give us at least a way in, or at least a focal point?
Now, Elias, your connection is Valeris. Are we saying that? Can you tell? What do we know about Valeris?
Valeris is a spy, working with the Bluecoats, but has infiltrated several groups and gangs as the Bluecoats see fit. And it might even, to be honest, it could be even higher up than the Bluecoats, but some official source within the government.
So, what kind of action roll would we use to gather information with Valeris?
I would say survey right out the gate, to try to see where she stands and what information she might have. But I guess if I knew something a little bit more concrete, or a better direction to ask for more detailed information, maybe hunt, because it's more of a vocal going this direction. But I think because it's kind of broad, I'm thinking survey at the moment. Yeah,
and to be honest with you, I think I don't think you necessarily need her for a survey. I think if you're going to do a survey, you can probably do it on your own. Don't you think? Because that's going to be you, watching, looking. Yeah. So who wants to make a survey roll for gathering information?
I am Overwatch. Probably me, myself, and I.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Elias, let's set the scene then. If we look, and let me see if I can bring up a map for everybody.
I got a map right here. Can I roll with it?
Let's see here. I'm gonna bring it up for people watching here. Shoot. No, that's not what I wanted. No, I'm not gonna be able to bring it up. So it's the prison's on the other side there. Is it maybe under scores? I can do it. Let me just look here.
It's on 254 of the book PDF, page 254.
We also have a handout.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find a bigger map for people that'll be easier to see than that handout. Let's see here. There it is. All right, so Elias is going to go out. He's going to try to keep his eyes open. He's going to try to gather some information to see if he can't figure out what potential sand can be leaking out from there. So we're going to go ahead and do a hunt. You said survey roll.
Yep.
Okay.
Survey roll.
And this will be a risky standard.
Risky standard. Question is, do I take stress for this? Push myself already? Probably not. So early in the game. Dang it! No, I'll just roll with it. See what happens.
Okay. So here's the information that you've got. Let me think, because it's a failure. But let me think. I will tell you where it's happening. But the consequence is it's going to generate 2 heat. If not, then I think that we need to come up with a new score.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean we can't come back to this score.
Think the heat's worth it? I mean, we're down to 0 heat right now.
Think of the reputation behind the heat. We could. I mean, it's a resource.
Mm-hmm. That said, we know we're gonna, unless everything goes perfectly, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we're gonna generate heat at the end of it. And if we go all the way up, then we're in prison, which means we're gonna end up in with the Iron Hook guards that we were trying to help out with.
So if it goes well, then we're all good.
Then we'll do the downtime prison actions.
Why would you give Greg ideas? I don't know. Like just.
It's because of my GM. It's it happens.
I'm thinking we try this again later.
Yeah, this might be a later score. Right down for.
All right, so let's
reference.
keep this in mind then. That this is a potential for later, right?
Put it on the notes maybe for the. Okay.
Your spider is taking care of it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do this. Elias, go ahead and start a clock and make it a 4 segment. And let's call it Discover the Leak and put 1 segment in there.
Okay.
All right. Is there a target to acquire a loyal fence? So if you do any type of burglary or robbery, you'll get 2 additional coin for it? Or is there a potential score target for covert drops or to gain some turf?
I have an idea for fence.
Okay.
So we hunt in Night Market,
Correct.
which is has a wide and varied market of various interesting delights, and I'm sure that there is competition between merchants and selling very interesting items. We could acquire a fence that is one of the merchants, and the specific score would be they would like something that another merchant has.
Mm-hmm. Or if it's not a specific thing, it could be they would like another merchant who is their rival destabilized in some way.
Yep.
Okay.
I like how you said destabilize.
He was a government spy, okay?
All right. So who would you like your? What kind of merchant, Reagan? Would you guys like to end up becoming your covert drop?
I mean, Reagan would love someone who deals in weird stuff.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that the best fence? When they can deal in weird stuff, you can give them really anything, and they can sell it as whatever would make them the most money.
So, Reagan, you know about a noodle bar that is in Night Market. And it is run by several different people. It's a kind of a family made of no family. And there's some Aruvians that are there. There's some Scolvins that are there. A lot of different people own and run this noodle bar. And the noodles are good. But what's behind the noodle bar? The beauty of making noodles is you just need a place to boil water. So the kitchen, actually, they sell arcane artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was probably one of the places you swung by to try to look for your mirror.
Yeah.
The fact that they are very used to hiding a thriving arcane business makes them a fantastic covert drop. Anybody could go in there for noodles, order a special dish, and the exchange and drop off would be super easy to do.
I love that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to name this noodle shop?
I think to kind of key into the family idea, I like it being like a person that is like it's just a name, like a very plain, like a plain name that doesn't fit anyone, but everyone answers to whatever this name is, and it's just whatever this name is, families.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. We've got seven people watching just on Twitch. I'm sure we've got other people watching on YouTube as well as Facebook. So for those of you that aren't on Twitch, hop over to Twitch. We're going to continue kind of scoping out this this score, but I would like the viewers to decide the name of this noodle bar. All right, so now we need to figure out what the people of this noodle bar are going to... What can we do for them to make them a new covert drop for us that makes them want to work with the Umbral Means?
Is there a rival noodle shop? Noodle bar?
Or just a rival arcane artifact
Done.
purveyor.
Yeah.
Done. So there's another one in Night Market that's their biggest competitor for arcane objects, and that is run by a fortune teller. So her front for selling arcane objects is you can come in and get your fortune told. She you don't know a lot about her. But the noodle shop, I'm still waiting to find out the name of this noodle shop. So come on, viewers.
Nate, I see you're in there. Give us a good one.
So she is their main competitor for arcane objects, So I think she needs to be your target. So what could we do to hurt her?
We don't need to like decommission her business, right? Could be just something.
Well, let's think about what her business is, right? So her business is thriving, one, on discretion, right? Keeping up the appearance of just being a psychic fortune teller, not it being overtly known that she sells in illegal arcane objects. So that's one thing that could potentially hurt her, is by bringing heat on her or exposing her and what she does.
Or exposing her clients. I'm thinking like she would have some people that wouldn't want to know that they go visit her and buy strange stuff. What if that list gets out?
Yep. The list of client list, huge. That would be huge. That would hurt her terribly. What else would hurt her? How about if you could somehow hurt her ability to acquire arcane objects? So somebody's supplying her. So someone's smuggling and gathering and getting her these arcane objects. So you can cut off her demand, or you can cut off her supply. What's your target?
My one concern with cutting off the demand is if you essentially made the whole list of clients public, they might go run and hide. They might not they might not immediately look for other places to get their wares. So I think the supply is probably the better option there.
All right, so we're going to go after the supply, and after you hurt her supply, it's going to help our noodle shop. And by the way, the name of our noodle shop is the Brothed and Found.
Yes.
I knew we'd come through.
Nice.
Love it.
So,
Very well done.
F3,
Who gets credit for that?
F3 Iraq, thank you. That is a good one. The Brothed and Found is the name of our noodle shop. So how are we going to hurt her supply?
So there are two ways we can target the way, the route, or the transport device, or whatever, or the people that are supporting it.
It might help if we know who's behind the scenes of this rival noodle or arcane object store. If we're going up against a tier 4, tier 5 gang, we might want to go after their demand instead of supply.
So as best as you guys are able to figure out with a little bit of homework, and we're not going to do gather information on this, it's a group called the Foxhounds. I think that's their name. Hold on.
Just going through my notes to make sure there isn't any
the Fog
names
Hounds.
that have come.
The Foghounds. So it's a crew of rough smugglers, and they are the ones that seem to be getting. You don't know where the Foghounds are getting it from, but via the docks, the Foghounds have a boat, and you've seen, watching the patterns. You see them. The Foghounds take the boat out. Boat comes back. They disseminate out and deliver stuff that they're obviously smuggling on this boat. And one of the places they go to is to this gypsy shop, this fortune teller shop. So it appears that they are the ones supplying her with arcane objects.
I say we cut off only her direct source of objects to not.
And they're only
That's
tier
what-
1, which is nice.
And how many boats do they have?
They have one boat.
Oh, how convenient.
Weren't you just saying you were interested in getting a boat?
So they have a boat. There's a woman by the name of Margette Vale, who is their leader. Around her, she has Bear, who's the second in command. He gets his name honestly. He's a huge man, kind of the muscle. And then she also has Goldie, who's the navigator on the boat and kind of the ship's captain. So those are some personalities among the Foghounds. And they have a small crew. They've got about 3 or 4 other people that that are in the Foghounds that sometimes go on the boat with them. Sometimes they're just there at the docks to pick up and distribute. So is that our target, the Foghounds?
Yeah, that's our target.
All right. All right, so there's a lot of different ways we can get the Foghounds to stop supplying her, right? So are we going to assault them? We're going to use deception, stealth, occult, social, or transport.
So go for it.
No.
Okay. My initial thought was I really like Nick's idea of one way to not be noticed as much, create small ripples. So let's only cut off her supply if we can. And to me, that says, let us, however we want to do it, let's make the Foghounds think she's done something that they just find reprehensible. Maybe he killed she led to killing their old leader or something like that. Or has told a fortune to one of them that they will end up filthy rich and it ends up with them in prison. Something like that. As far as how, I haven't gotten that far yet, but just throwing ideas out.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make the Foghounds not want to work with her anymore?
Yes.
Okay.
And my two thoughts here were essentially either deception or occult. Because if she's being a fortune teller, if we can pull some occult spookiness to make them think that she's pulling the strings on it somehow against them, that's still technically deception, but...
Yeah. My idea for occult was something that they are transporting is far more dangerous, or can be made far more dangerous than they were initially led to believe.
I mean, my ghost ward bulb is blinking now, basically.
Yeah.
So the occult makes it even more fun, and even my trauma makes it then much more interesting. With this. So.
All right. So walk me through that then. So you're going to. How are you going to use the occult to make them not want to supply her anymore?
We find out whatever it is that they are bringing her next, and we activate it when it's not supposed to be activated, or in a way it's not supposed to be, and they blame her for getting them to try and get her something that dangerous without telling her and paying them properly.
It could be a switch. Basically, we could put something else that she originally wanted, but it's something more, let's say, on the spooky side.
All right, so you're going to have to get involved in the supply chain then, right? So you figure you're going to have to impact a shipment. I figured that could happen. There's several different places that could happen, and it could happen on wherever they're picking it up. It could happen when it's being offloaded from the boat. It could be as it's working its way through Duskville to get from the docks to the night market. Where are we going to hit them?
I feel like when they're picking it up is probably the best spot to make the switch, but that requires more work to find out where it is and to get there and know it better than they do and make sure that it's switching with the right thing. Versus, and it's kind of in the way that Craig just laid it out, it's kind of a sliding scale on that. Of the closer we get to the delivery point, the easier it would be to make a snatch and grab, except instead of a grab, we're leaving something extra behind. But the harder that becomes to time properly and do effectively. So I think we hit them right in the middle of that when they're offloading it at the dock.
And I think if you guys can pull this off, what you really could potentially end up doing is, and it turns out the Foghounds do not supply the Brothed Found, right? So if you can dissuade the Foghounds from dealing in arcane objects, and I think that a horrible arcane object accident could make them go, you know what? This ain't worth it.
Yeah.
This ain't worth it. And potential great benefits, right? So one, you definitely will gain the Brothed and Found as a covert drop. 2, it would, depending on what happens, potentially could impact the Foghounds. We could potentially come up with an idea that hits another faction too, if you want.
The Billhooks.
Maybe what's the faction in the night market?
In the night market, give me a second.
The sisters.
Yeah, one of our friends, right?
Dimmer sisters are less friends.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm.
So the one thing to
Pointing
think about, if we go back to the reputation, let's go back there.
Yeah.
So right now you have the biggest beef with the Hive and the Dimmer sisters. Weakening either of them would definitely be good for you, because if you end up going to war with either of them, the weaker they are, the better you are. So the Dimmer sisters are tier 2 strong. The Hive is tier 4 weak.
Hive, I find it a bit harder to link them to this accident. The sisters, like, since it's on or close to night market, but it's close to the docks actually.
And the Hive is very active in the docks. So I think they're both legitimate targets. And we don't need to decide that right now. So let's go back and let's talk about what we're going to do. What is going to be our approach? So we're going to sabotage a shipment to make it so that the Foghounds do not want to deal in arcane smuggling anymore.
It's like a stealth. That right away.
So Jim in the chat says, and maybe thanks to the void in the market, you can start dealing in arcane artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
Like how you think, Jim.
Yeah, I think it's stealth or occult.
Well, let's look at the details. Right? Maybe that'll help us make the decision. So if you choose stealth, you got to pick a point of infiltration, and if you pick occult, you've got to pick the arcane method.
I feel like the occult is not. Doesn't like the approach.
Because
the occult isn't really the approach. It's something that we're going to utilize in the process of the approach. But the approach itself has got to be stealth.
Mm-hmm.
In my eyes, at least.
Like, it could always be connection. There is somebody, I don't know. The blue coats could get us to area in the docks that we normally
Don't plan. Don't get ahead of yourself, Cornelius.
Okay.
All right. So are we committing to stealth?
Yes.
So we're going to trespass somewhere unseen. So what is going to be our point of infiltration?
Probably their ship as soon as they make dock. That is, like, they've been on long stretches of, like, ferrying however it's been, and kind of like coming off, and they've done this hundreds of times. They would feel relatively safe in that, like, no one's going to, like, outright attack them. But that also comes with a degree of, like, almost letting down the guard because they've done this so many times.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm wondering about the doing it at the dock is that's where you've got the biggest collection of their gang, because they're taking multiple shipments and spider webbing them across the land, right? So
from
they would
how Craig described it, they have a relatively small crew.
They are. Yeah, there's just the 3 named ones that I gave you, and then I mean they're only what did I say? They're only tier 1, so they've got maybe 2-3 other people in the crew.
Gotcha. So, if they're
now, one thing that we don't know is we don't necessarily know if they're utilizing any other faction to help distribute this stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
That's an unknown. But that, I mean, the Foghounds are a decent target at tier 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess my concern was if there's 6 guys on the ship that are going to eventually turn into 3 groups of 2 going to 3 different places, it's better to hit the one going directly to the location that we know of as opposed to hitting the ship and not knowing for sure what's what. I guess we look at bill of ladings or have some inside information, but.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to hit him on the path? Do you want to hit him on the dock? So here's my idea. So we can keep moving this forward.
Yeah.
It's going to be on the ship. It's going to be at the docks, or at some point between the docks and night market, or it could be at night market.
I think the docks. We agreed like we want not to be that close to the market, but not that far.
So the other thing that we need to look at is district modifiers. Hold on one second.
Mm-hmm.
Let me quickly look at the docks, and let's see if the docks offers itself as a good. So let's see. Operations against ships at a port are considered hostile turf for the purpose of generating heat.
Mm.
And that is what exactly?
Basically, you're going to increase the heat, the chances of gaining heat if you attack a ship or a ship at port in the docks.
I think that the answer then is hit them en route then.
Mm.
Now my question is, and we don't need to answer this now, I think, but I'm thinking of how can we affect the Dimmer Sisters, and my two thoughts here are, do we want to make them weaker in Night Market, or do we want to make them less hostile towards us? Because the making them less hostile, you could argue, like, if we're pointing out, hey, one of your fences is trying to ask for really dangerous stuff, here's a free bit of information, go deal with them, and we want nothing for it other than know that we scratched your back.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
General nods of agreement. Okay.
Yeah.
Brain is working still, and
And
Right,
to be fair, the docks and night market are on opposite sides of our map, so that we've got lots of options to hit en route.
Yep.
Okay. I like that.
So what's our point of infiltration?
Hitting them on en route.
I need to know where that is, though.
Oh.
is there anything like that gives us a bonus actually that would make sense?
Well, let's take a look. So, looking at the map, right? So I'm looking at the map itself, and we've got the docks up here in the top left. I don't know. Can you guys see the map I'm got?
Yeah.
Okay. So upper left is the docks. I don't know if you can see my cursor though, but I can. Let me see if I can ping it.
I don't
can't
see it on
ping
my screen.
I think
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Hold on. Let me try to show players.
Ah, there it is. I had
Okay.
to. Yeah.
So
I was watching Twitch actually.
Oh. So upper left is the docks, right? Yeah, you can literally see the docks. And then east of it is Brightstone. Below it is Crow's Foot. This big area here is Charter Hall. Over here to the right, east of Charter Hall, is Six Towers. And then the little foot to the south there is yours, Coleridge. And then Night Market is in the bottom right. So in my mind, they're probably not going to go through Charter Hall. Reason being is that they... I don't see them wanting to do... That's where all the government buildings are and everything like that, right? So I would imagine their routes are either going to be through Brightstone, Six Towers down to Night Market, or the docks to Crow's Foot to Char Hollow to Coleridge to Night Market. Avoiding the center.
I think hitting them in Crow's Foot because ghost activity is more enhanced
Okay.
gives us some interesting avenues with like how does this artifact, like how is this artifact dangerous?
I like
like
that
it.
idea.
Yeah.
And then if something goes horribly wrong, we have plenty of route left to fall back and try again.
All right, so Crow's Foot is here. And after years of murder have made this the most haunted district. Angry ghosts crave bloodshed here. You may take a devil's bargain for +1 die for violent action, but the ghosts will lash out too. So that's the district modifier. We're gonna hit him in Crow's Foot.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
I say, what do we have to lose? Just have to roll up new characters, I guess. That's the worst.
You had to say it out loud.
Stares in Reagan's belief.
All right. So what we're going to do then is we're going to wrap this up. We're going to do an engagement roll. And then when we start session 3, we're going to set the scene based off of your engagement roll. And we're going to be using stealth to infiltrate and hit them in Crow's Foot. All right. So who wants to roll my engagement roll?
I want to roll it.
Nick's going no. Who did it last time?
I did.
Okay, so Nick's out. So
And we
next?
can roll twice, right, for the slippery.
That's entanglements.
That's for entanglements.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it! I thought. All right.
Who's going to roll it for me so we can start building?
I'll do
I
it.
can.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
So Galen out there, he's going to be the one trying to kind of piece together all of the information to put you guys in a good situation for the engagement. He's out there. He's talking to people all throughout Crow's Foot, trying to really understand the route that takes them from the docks through Crow's Foot to finally get to Night Market. All right, Galen. So we're going to start off with 1 die for basic fortune, for good luck.
Okay.
Let's talk about major advantages. Oh,
My bad.
that's all
I
right.
rolled too early.
You're going to wish you kept that one, though.
Yes, I am.
So
Maybe someone else is rolling now. Or...
let's talk about major advantages. Is this operation particularly bold or daring?
Compared to last time, no.
I think with stealth, I'm probably going to say no to this. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm agreeing. Not so
Okay.
much. Like this is more day-to-day work. It's not a big work project, if you will.
All right. So the plan's detail exposes a vulnerability of the target and hits them where they're the weakest.
I would say yes on that because, yeah, we're not hitting them on the ship.
Yep, I agree. So that's going to be 2 dice.
Okay.
Friends and contacts provide aid or insight. It's Crow's Foot. You're +2 now with the crows.
Yep.
So I think that's 3 dice.
Okay.
All right. And then is the target a lower tier? No. District modifiers? There's no district modifiers for here. So now let's talk about disadvantages. The operation is overly complex or contingent on many factors? Nah. The target is strong against this approach and have particular defenses or preparations?
Not that we're aware of.
I'm going to say no. Will enemies or rivals interfering in the operation? No, right? So they're not a rival. You're not involving any rivals in this process. So say no. Target is a higher tier? Yes. So that drops you from 3 to 2.
Okay.
And there's no district modifier. So we're going to roll 2.
Oh, we already did.
Yeah, it's right there.
Best I could do.
All right. And the whole time in the back of Galen's head, he's going, "Why am I dealing in Spooky Land? Why am I dealing in Spooky Land?"
All right.
Ain't that the truth?
All right. So you're going to be in a desperate position when the action starts. So when we start session 3, you guys are going to be right there in the action. I'm going to drop you in. You're going to be in a desperate position when that happens. And it should be an exciting score.
Excellent.
All right. So that was a good session, too. What did we think about downtime?
I like it.
I like the roleplay aspect on kind of backstories that you thought up through your head and try to just kind of go down those rabbit holes and work through it. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I didn't like my role, but I liked that part of it.
I like so again, normally in your standard D&Ds, your whatever RPGs you're playing that aren't this,